So the big question is this: how do you take $42,000 in assets in a one Trackman bay facility in the back of a CrossFit gym and turn it into a 12 bay, 17,000 square foot training facility in just a few years? That's the question, and this is the podcast that's going to give you the answer. Welcome to Inside the Room on Stock Shot Secrets. So we are at the final stage of this series, of this basically six-part series, of talking about what I think is the most important bedrock of all companies. And it is something that I coined in regards of calling the engagement flywheel. And at the crux of it, what it really boils down to is the LTV to CAC ratio, the lifetime value to the cost to acquire a customer. Now, I had talked about that a little bit before, but if you missed that, I want to go into that just a little bit to make sure that you understand what exactly that lifetime value to CAC ratio is. So first and foremost, CAC is the cost to acquire a customer. Now, most businesses get this wrong because of the fact of you go, hey, how do you acquire customers? And they're like, we have word of mouth, which, don't get me wrong, is great. And it's great because you're not paying anything to acquire the customer, right? But the problem is that there's no systematic approach to actually acquiring customers. Now, when I first started the golf room, the way I acquired customers is I would go into high-end restaurants. This is no joke, right? For you in Columbus that are listening, I would go into Hyde Park and Two Cheese and these places here in Dublin, and I would basically drop off flyers in the bathroom. Because I was onto this even at the beginning, because I knew that if I could get a customer to see the brochure, call the number, and get them on the phone, I knew for a fact that I could get them to buy at least 3 lessons, and I could basically know for a fact that I was going to have at least, I was charging $100 an hour that time, I could get $300 if I could just get that person on the phone. But I knew nothing, nothing about marketing. I didn't know anything about Meta. I didn't know anything about ads. I didn't know I was terrible on camera. I didn't know anything. If you go back and look at the YouTube videos of when I first started, it's hey guys, I got something really important I want to tell you today. It's going to be really, really, really great. Right? So when I was doing this, I just needed to get customers in the door, but I had no idea how to actually do it, right? So now what happened is my brain went on fire, and I was like, I got to have some systematic way of getting clients, right? Which really pulls into the cost to acquire customers. And that cost to acquire, right, that has to go through ads, through Google. There's a bazillion ways to acquire customers, probably a series of its own. But the truth is that you needed to create this stuff. And that's when you go into the first level of this engagement flywheel, where it was entice. That's what we needed to do, is we need to entice people to say, hey, my product is great. Let me prove it to you. Let me show you how great it is. So that's the CAC part. Now there's the LTV part. Now, when you first start, in a golf facility, you go to the golf owners that I'm sitting here, or the general managers, or the green grass facility owners, or whatever, or any business for that matter. You go, hey, Mr. Golf Pro, what do you do? And they're like, I sell packages and lessons. And you go, yeah, I get it. That's what I did. The problem is there's 2 problems. One, that's not actually good for the customer, for an array of reasons, because they need a journey, and them seeing you every 4 weeks is doing a disservice, because between the 4 weeks, they are 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, going to do it wrong. They're going to practice wrong, and there needs to be more systems and processes in check to make sure that they are not doing it wrong. Now, when you're doing that and then the packages is just an extension of that. What we really need is ways that we are engaging with them through the process of their journey and reaching all of their goals, and that takes time, and that's okay, right? You have to reframe it as this is an investment into your life. This is not an investment into you playing good for 5 minutes. This is you're 40, you're going to dive in, and then you're going to play great golf from 41 to whenever Jesus takes you home at 85, right? So it's an investment in forever. And that happens through like having a journey and empowering them and equipping them what they need and encouraging them when they feel like they're slowing down. And then when you do all of this stuff, what ends up happening is you have a really good LTV to CAC ratio, a lifetime value to CAC, cost to acquire ratio. And in the final stages of this engagement flywheel, because you have now mastered that, guess what you get to do? In stage 6, you now expand. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Stock Shot Secrets podcast. If you are enjoying it, be sure to like this episode. Be sure to subscribe so you can always see when they're coming out. And most importantly, if you would be so kind to be able to share this podcast with other passionate golfers who are trying to get better and build stock shots, because it grows through you sharing it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now back to Stock Shot Secrets. So you grow. So at the golf room, right, we opened the door in 2016. When I opened the golf room in 2016, I had sold 12 academy parents and kids on an academy that was $8.99 a month. And I went to them and I told them about what the journey was going to be and what it was. I had no facility. I had never had a job. I never taught a lesson. I had nowhere to show them, but I was selling them the plan of what we were going to do for their junior. And I opened up the facility with basically, even though I had never even conducted business yet, the facility was paid off before I even opened it. That's a pretty good gig, right? So what happened is, because of this engagement flywheel, it went from 1 bay, and then I continued to morph it and make it better, and then it went to 2 bays, and I made it better, and then it went to 3 bays, and then it went to 4 bays, and then to 6 bays, and then to 7 bays, and now we're at 12 bays, and the same process is happening, and we're getting it better and better and better because we're over-delivering and trying to serve the customer as much as we can, and now we're basically nearly shutting off memberships at the golf room. Not because we don't want to serve anybody. We would love to serve it, but it's just like, we're full. Like, I don't know what to do, right? So, and we're full because of the fact that players are actually getting better. And in this final stage, that's the expansion, because now when you start to understand this LTV to CAC and you understand this engagement flywheel, one, your marketing decisions become really easy because you go, hey, I can spend this much on marketing because I know I'm making it this much more back when we acquire the customer. So the decision making becomes very, very easy. Whereas before, like you, as the owners, right, we only think about the marketing and the spend, right? So we go, oh man, like it's $2,000. That's a lot. Well, $2,000 isn't a lot if it generates 10 grand. If I gave you $1 and you give me $5 back, that sounds like a pretty good business exchange. So the goal is, through all of this engagement flywheel, is to maximize your LTV to CAC so that you can spend more money and acquire more customers and grow as fast as your heart desires. Because as the famous marketing statement goes, that was coined, I believe, by Dan Kennedy, who can ever spend the most money to acquire a customer wins. So if you have an LTV, a lifetime value of a customer that's, say, $5,000, you can spend $1,500 to acquire the customer. So if, like, that's a lot. That's more than anyone else would know. But the only way you can do that is by knowing your numbers and knowing your LTV to CAC. And your job as the owner is to build a system and a process so that you can maximize this. Now, if you don't know how to do that and you need help and like building out your system, building out your business plan so that you can, maybe you're a person that's like thinking about wanting to open a facility and you're like, man, I really want to do this. I just don't know how to do it. That's okay. I didn't know how to do it either. Now, through a lot of reading, a lot of research, a lot of listening, a lot of mentoring, I've able to come up with this playbook and roadmap to actually, how do you go about building a business where you can make money like you would make in year 5, but you make it in year 1. So if I could give you a $5,000 like fast pass to year 5 revenue, would you do that? I think so. So if you need any help with like building this business plan, building out your engagement flywheel, and the engagement flywheel, like we just kind of covered it. I mean, there's everything inside of that. Like you talk about operations, HR, like 401ks, how to hire, how to conduct lessons, how to design the facility, what technology do you use, who should you call, like what contractors, all of that stuff. I am here to help you if you want. You just need to go to thegolfroom.com/business/ or like hyphen coaching, right? And you can fill out the application. I'll give you a call, see if it's a good fit for you. But I'm here to help, and here to help it so that you can build out this engagement flywheel so that you can maximize your LTV to CAC ratio. And when you do that, guess what? You get to continue expand and expand and expand. And not only are you expanding your facility, you're expanding the amount of lives that you're touching, the amount of lives that you're changing, and your bank account. Your bank account's expanding as well, which would be nice. So if you need any help, let me know. But hopefully you enjoyed this 6-part series talking about the engagement flywheel. And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to the latest episode of Stock Shot Secrets. I want to invite you, the business owner who would like to learn how to scale your revenue to make more money inside your business. I want to invite you to Columbus. Spend a few days with me where I show you everything that we do at the Golf Room to build our business to go from like 1 bay to 2 bays, and then 2 to 3 and 3 to 4, 4 to 6 and 6 to 12, and now the largest player development facility in America. I'm going to show you everything we have, basically give you the franchise code, if you will, on how we go about our business. So I want to invite you to learn more about it. Just go to thegolfroom.com/business-coaching, and you can learn all about this process and see if it's a good fit for you. And hopefully I see you soon in Columbus, Ohio.